I started drinking heavily at 17. Home life had been quite difficult and I'd already started having a few issues around food. But the big trigger for me was my friend dying. We were out celebrating her birthday, we were 17, and it was November the 5th bonfire night, and a brick wall fell on her and killed her. So that was just so traumatic for me. The whole experience was just, I just didn't know how to deal with it. I was expected to go back to school 2 days later and continue with my A-levels, and I just couldn't. We got no emotional support at all at school. And I found alcohol very, very quickly. I hadn't really been interested in alcohol before then, but I found it dumbed the emotion and the pain I was going through at the time, but I was really crying out for some help. I just didn't know how to deal with the pain I was going through. And at home it was the same. My parents were working most of the time, so I was home on my own. My brother and sister had left for university, and alcohol became my best friend and my enemy, I guess, all at the same time. I somehow managed to get into nursing college, which I really enjoyed, but again there was a big culture of drinking there. It was doctors' parties, 999 parties, it was just the done thing, and I didn't seem to be drinking any more excessively than anybody else at the time. Throughout my life there's just been patterns of whenever I've struggled emotionally, that alcohol has been a solution. It stops me from thinking. The other thing I guess I should mention is that along with the alcoholism, it triggered mental health issues for me. So I found alcohol was also a way of shutting out voices I heard and commands and any uncomfortable feelings that I was going through. I'm now 49, and I can say from the age of 17 I've probably only had 2 years abstinence. My mental health suffered a lot because of my alcohol use, and I was taking a series of overdoses, in and out of A&E, police stations, being sectioned, back in hospital again, drinking again, and it culminated in my sister picking me up from the police station, having been sectioned for my own safety, and I'd reached my rock bottom. I knew at that point I couldn't go on anymore. My sister, it was the most difficult conversation I think I've had. She told me that she thought she'd be burying me in a few months if I didn't get any help. And she'd said it before, but this time I knew she was right. And before I knew it, an appointment had been made with Rise, and the following day I had my first appointment. But I know one thing I can really hold on to is that during the time that I met with a key worker here, that I had my first glimmer of hope in years. I heard some things that made me think that maybe there was a way out, that maybe I could enjoy life again and be free of alcoholism. And it was that hope that I clung on to after my first assessment. Something in there, some little seed of hope was sown, and that helped me. It helped me so much. I continued to have follow-on appointments, and I did start going to a 12-step fellowship. I went to AA, which I found helpful. Even though I was going there under the influence, everybody was really supportive of me. And I think I just got a plan in place with my key worker. So we were looking at timescales. We talked about rehab, which I felt was the best solution for me, because I felt I needed that intense help to get me through. I couldn't consider myself coming just for a weekly appointment and managing. And it was working towards that date. Initially it was going to be 7 weeks, it then turned to be 9 weeks, and I ended up being there for 14 weeks. It was the most amazing experience of my life. It was a lifesaver. They call it the miracle mansion, and it was for me. It's very, very intense. You're not allowed to go out on your own. You're surrounded by people 24/7. everything was group work, counselling, but you really got to the depths of why, you know, why you were using, why you were drinking, and I learnt a lot about myself there. It gives you the tools, the starting of the tools that you need to make your recovery. I was in the main house where there was up to 40 people, and you can imagine emotions flying around, 40 people away from home, all going through various emotional situations. However, the last 6 weeks we moved into smaller houses where there was just 4 or 5 of us sharing, and smaller groups, and we had our first introduction into being able to go out to NA meetings and AA meetings. And for me that was really important, because I'd actually got anxious about simple things like getting on a bus, going shopping, you know, because we hadn't done it for 2 months. It seemed quite a big thing. So for me to be able to do those little steps before I came home was really important, and to be given a bit more independence, and also being around shops where there would be alcohol. It was unrealistic, you know, to think that that wouldn't be there when I got home. So for me it was really good. And I sat on the bus the first day, and there was somebody drinking from a bottle of cider, and I thought, that was me 3 months ago, you know, that was me sat on the bus. I didn't care if people saw me, I just needed it. And it was a good feeling to be where I was. When I left the rehab, I was really fortunate that things were put in place with my key worker from RISE before I left. She came to visit me twice. And then I met with Nick Sutherland, who's the peer mentor coordinator, and he was able to tell me of things that I could get involved with. I was very keen from the start to have something in place, as I knew that I needed that structure. It also sounded really interesting, and I did feel that I wanted to give something back, and if I could help out in any way, I was really happy to do so. The positive side for me was that I was also going to be around other people in recovery, and I'd had that drummed into me in treatment, that was a really positive thing that you needed to do. The recovery, the treatment centre was actually the easier part of it. It was coming home and then having to deal with life that was the hardest part, so that helped me. I've been offered so many opportunities since I've come out of treatment. It's surreal. Before I didn't have anything, and now I'm actually triple booking myself. I'm having to sort of decide which thing I'd like to do, and to have that choice is incredible. I'd like to work within the drug and alcohol field, maybe alongside mental health. So at the moment I'm doing my counselling course, doing the training that's relevant, and also doing some of the fun side of things, some arts and crafts courses, maybe photography, because I think it's important to have those fun times that I couldn't have before. Before I went into treatment, my whole life revolved around finances, worry, chaos, where I was going to get the next drink from. That was my day. In treatment, it was very much about day-to-day, concentrating on maintaining my recovery. When I came out of treatment, it was day by day, looking at my recovery. Now I'm beginning to think about small breaks I'd like to take with my family, festivals, courses. My whole horizons have broadened. So although I'm very conscious of, I have a daily programme that I do for my recovery that I know keeps me well, but I'm not concentrating on that 24/7. It's always there, it's always with me. I wake up and I do some readings and some meditation, but the rest of my day I can concentrate on having some fun and hopefully doing things to get back into some kind of work that I'd like to do in the future.